Lesson 2.7, percent of change. Today we will be calculating percent of change. Percent of change is the ratio of the change in an amount to the original amount expressed as a percent. Percent of change may be either an increase or a decrease. Here's your formula. Amount of change is to original amount as X is to 100, and X is going to be your percent of change. We're going to be solving for a percent of change. Let's look at number 1. Write it down, please. The original is 66. The original amount is 66. The new amount is 30. And what I want to do is calculate the percent of change. Okay? So, looking at the formula that I gave you, I need to discover what the amount of the change is. Well, it went from 66 to 30, so I can tell you that it decreased by 36 over the original amount, which is 66, is equal to X over 100. Now you have a proportion that we can solve using cross products. So let's go ahead and do that. 36 times 100 is 3600, is equal to 66 times X, which is 66X. Now we're ready to solve for X. In order to isolate X, I need to divide both sides by 66. And so when I divide 3600 by 66, I get 54.545454. And so I will, on all of these, round to the tenths place, and we get 54.5. And so my percent of change is a 54.5% decrease. And I know it's a decrease because it went from 66 down to 30. Okay, let's try number 2. Here we had an original of 9.8 and the new amount is 12.1. So let's go ahead and put that into my percent of change formula. Percent of change, remember, equals amount of change over original equals X over 100. So how much is the amount that it changed by? It went from 9.8 to 12.1. So let's subtract those. I see an increase of 2.3. And that goes over the original 9.8 equals X over 100. Okay, let's go ahead and cross multiply. 2.3 times 100 is 230 equals 9.8x. In order to solve for x, I need to divide both sides by 9.8. So when I take 230 and divide it by 9.8, I have, rounded to the tenths, it would be 23.5 equals X. Therefore, my answer would be I have a 23.5%, in this case, increase. I know it's an increase because notice that it went from 9.8 to 12.1, so it obviously went up. Okay, number 3 on your own, please. Pause the video now, come back and check your work. Okay, for number 3, I have a 66.7% increase. Okay, in this lesson we will also be finding sales tax. So let me give you the steps to find the sales tax. To find sales tax, number 1, multiply the cost by the percent of sales tax. Number 2, add the sales tax to the amount, add the sales tax amount to the cost. Okay, so here we go. Number 4, find the total cost. If a DVD costs $24.99 and there's a sales tax of 6.85%, how much is the total cost? Okay, so here's what you would do. Take your cost of $24.99 and multiply it by the percent. Remember that in order to use a percent in a mathematical operation, we need to change it to a decimal. So we will change this to a decimal, moving the decimal over 2 times to the left. So it would be 24.99 times 0.0685. I've got to move it 2 times to the left. So go ahead, use a calculator to multiply that. 24.99 times 0.0685, and we have 0.962115. The actual tax amount is rounded to the penny. That's the hundredths place. So the tax amount is actually 96 cents. That's the tax. So to calculate the total cost, we take the cost of the DVD, which is $24.99, and we're going to add the tax of 96 cents. And so our total cost is $25.95. We'll also be finding discounted prices. In order to find a discounted price, here are your steps. Number 1, you're going to multiply the original amount of the percent, multiply the original amount by the percent of the discount or the markdown. Let me just adjust something here. In here you want the word by. Sorry about that. Number 2, you're going to subtract the discount amount from the original price. And then number 3, you'll add sales tax if necessary. Okay, look at number 5. Find the sales price. We have a picture frame on sale, 40% off. Well, let's find out how much you'll wind up paying for this picture frame. If the original cost of the picture frame is $14.89, let's find out what 40% of that is. So we'll multiply that by 0.4. Okay, so use your calculator. Let's do $14.89 times 0.4. And so I get 5.956. Of course, that's not money. We need to round it to the hundredths place. So we know that the discount is $5.96. The discount amount is $5.96. So again, if the original was $14.89 and it's going to be discounted or reduced by $5.96, how much are we going to pay for this picture frame? And we'll subtract that. It's going to cost us $8.93. This problem did not have sales tax added, but if it did, you would then multiply by the sales tax percent and add it on to that cost. $8.93 is the discounted price. Okay, for some independent practice, you will do number 3, number 5, and number 12. All you need to do here is calculate the percent of change, and tell whether it's an increase or a decrease. Notice the directions here, round to the nearest whole percent. Okay? And then here, I want you to work on 2 and 4. Okay, so number 2 is a tax problem. And number 4 is a discount problem. All right, we'll continue to work on percent of change, sales tax, discounts tomorrow in class. Please write down any questions that you might have so that we can discuss them. Have a beautiful night. God bless you. See you tomorrow.